So a couple of days ago, this is what we saw when we looked out the window first thing in the morning. I apologize for the video not being the greatest quality and for it not being horizontal, but we kind of just got a quick video of it and then I wanted to scare it away as soon as possible. So the way the bear story goes is, we woke up to Skeeter growling at like 5 in the morning. Sierra looked outside, that window was on her side of the bed, and then she's like, oh, there's a bear out there. So I immediately get up, we look out the window, we're like, holy cow. So we kind of watched it for a second. She got a quick video of it, wasn't the best, but I was more concerned with scaring it away and getting it out of here. I didn't want to make it feel any more welcome than it should. So I yelled at it from the window. It kind of trotted off a little bit, but then I went outside and started banging pots and pans at it, and it started kind of slowly trotting off. But it did stick around. It didn't just hightail it out of here. It kind of lollygagged around. It went and sniffed the log cabin workshop. My biggest concern about having the bear around, it's not my safety, it's the animals. If Skeeter runs after that bear, all it's going to take is one swipe from that bear, and that's probably the end of Skeeter. We have the cat that hangs out outside. We have the chickens. So I would rather it not feel too comfortable around here. And that's several times now that the bear has come into the yard and wrecked bird feeders. So what we're going to do, my first attempt at getting rid of the bear, so to speak, is just to stop feeding the birds. A lot of people around here, they'll bring their bird feeders in at night. We might try that, I don't know. But we're low on bird seed anyway, so I think we're just going to take a break from feeding the birds. I just don't want to give the bear any incentive to come into the yard. So we'll try that first and see how that goes. Hopefully if he does come around, he sees that there's nothing really here for him and he just keeps on moving. And we normally get them every year, but they usually don't come around this often. You might see one in the spring and then you won't see it for a couple months, 3 months or so. But just this year so far, we've consistently had them around. It's probably the same bear, but yeah, he's just wrecking our bird feeders and coming around a little too often for my liking. So anyways, that's the plan with the bear. If you guys didn't see my last video, at the end of it, I showed that we did throw up this gutter on the front of the porch. We had a really good thunder shower the other day, filled this barrel up. But yeah, this is about as simple as it gets for a rainwater collection system. These are the cheapest gutters you can find in the store. Just screwed right to the fascia board there, and then all you got to do is make sure you have just a little bit of downward slope into your rainwater collection container. So I get a lot of direct messages and emails from people that are building cabins or planning on building a cabin, and I always get asked about the foundation pads that I have this cabin sitting on. People want to know how they're holding up, if I've had to do any adjusting or anything, so I'll take you underneath the cabin right now and let's just go have a look at them. I do have some stuff stored underneath here, so don't mind the mess, but looking at them, so this would be two full years now of freezing and thawing, and they're all the beams are still resting on the pads, and the pads, to the naked eye, still appear to be sitting level both ways. So based on what I'm seeing here, I don't see myself having to do any adjustments for, several years. But if I ever do need to do any adjustments, it's very easy the way this is constructed. But you can get bottle jacks at Harbor Freight for really cheap. I bought a couple last year when I lifted up the log cabin and kind of redid those blocks. But anyways, yeah, everything's looking good under here. The beams are all resting evenly on the pad still. Just from looking at them with the naked eye, they all look like they're still sitting level. So I'll go grab a level quick and we'll throw one on a couple and see. All right, let's see what we got going on here. This is the first time I put a level on any of them since I put them up, like 2.5 years ago. That one's still sitting level. So this one's still sitting just the same way it was when I installed it. Level both ways. Try another one here. This is on one of the eave walls. Still sitting good. Both ways. All right, I'm getting out of here. Well, there you go. We're still sitting pretty mint. You'll never ever hear me say that that's the best way, to do a foundation for a cabin or a small building. But it does work, and it is, building techniques are a lot different depending on the climate that you live in. You know, this is northern Minnesota, so we don't have hurricanes up here. We get some pretty good windstorms. A tornado they do happen up here, but it's very, very rare. So for those that ask, it's up to you if you want to do it this way or not. I'm not suggesting that you do. I did it this way, and it's worked out for me. But it's very common up here. You know, I've seen it a lot. Like my grandpa's cabin, like I've showed before, it's 16 by 24. It's 70 years old, probably 75 years old now, and it's just sitting on railroad ties. That's it. It's not strapped down. It's not on concrete blocks, nothing. It's just sitting on chunks of railroad ties, and it's been that way for a long time, and it's held up just fine. But a big reason why I build everything on blocks, you know, or I did the chicken coop most recently on skids. Everything here is sitting on either skids or blocks, and a big reason for that is it's kind of a whole different ballgame with building permits if you are going to do any like digging or pouring of concrete. Like if you do any digging or even just pouring a concrete slab, then you have inspectors that need to be present. You're going to have locators come out, you know, make sure you're not going to hit something underground. And then you're kind of at the mercy of waiting for an inspector, and then you have those fees and all that. So when I went in to get my building permit originally for the cabin, they said, are you going to put it on a concrete slab? Are you pouring sonotubes? Or are you going to put it on blocks? And I asked her what most people do around here, and she said most people for a cabin are putting it on blocks. Cinder blocks, pads like I did, whatever, same concept. But doing it that way, I was just able to bypass. I had no inspections, nothing, you know, and it's a cabin, so... You know, a cabin sitting on blocks, there's basically no questions asked. Where I'm at, it's, you know, they give you your permit and say, all right, the assessor will be out on the next round. So it's a pretty laid back, easy process. And yeah, it's nice not having a babysitter around and being at the mercy of, oh, when can the inspector show up? Or when can so-and-so, oh, am I going to pass it? You know, you're like kind of free to do whatever you want. And also in some counties, if you put a building on skids, it's considered movable. So you don't even need a building permit for it. Definitely call and ask. I just got one here. I'm pretty sure that you do need one, but the fee for the permit's pretty low, and it's just nice not having to, you know, worry about getting having to pay the fine for not getting a permit later on or whatever. And it's a pretty easy process where I'm at, so I just figured might as well just get permits for everything. So everything that I've built has a permit. Everything's legal. It's all legit. The inspector's been out here, the assessor has been out here. But get out of here, fly. But anyway, I wanted to show it because a lot of people ask, so it's probably the most common question that I get. So I just wanted to show you how everything's holding up. It's holding up pretty good. And this is a 20-foot by 32-foot cabin. I mean, I think that's getting a little bit on the big side for doing just, you know, setting it on blocks. But I don't know. It's worked out fine for me. That's all I can say. At least it's worked out fine so far. And yeah, I mean, if you're doing anything smaller than a 20 by 32, if you're doing like a 16 by 24 or something, or a 20 by 20, it's up to you if you want to put it on blocks. But if you don't live in, you know, where there's hurricanes and, you know, tornadoes often, it'll probably be just fine. If you ever have to make adjustments, it's pretty easy to lift the building up with a couple bottle jacks or several bottle jacks. And all you got to do is lift it up just a little bit so you can wiggle the blocks, and then just make adjustments as you need to. I guess the advantage of doing it this way and putting it on blocks is cost. I mean, it's super, super cheap, very easy to do, you know, to install your pads or your cinder blocks or whatever you're going to do. But as I showed you, it's, you know, I'll probably have to adjust them once in my lifetime, maybe twice. I don't know. We'll see. I'll do another update next year after another year of freezing and thawing. Well, today's project is to get these girls situated with a roost. Kind of going to build a little playground for them. That'll be on the next video. I just wanted to do a little update here, show you guys that bear, and then talk about the foundation pads, just because I get asked about it so often. But yeah, these girls are growing like crazy. They're a little bit skittish, still a little bit scared of me, but I'll tame them up. Well, I'm going to get started on that roost for the chickens, so stay tuned for that. That'll be in the next video. But I'll end this video here. I appreciate you guys watching, but I'll throw in some trail cam photos from the last couple weeks or so, because we've had some pretty fun stuff coming in the yard. So stay tuned for those, and yeah, I appreciate you guys watching. I'll see you soon. So all the forest critters like to come party at Kyle's cabin. So here's a fox here. This raccoon is pretty entertaining. He comes around every night. He likes to climb the bird feeders. There's a pretty funny picture of him coming up soon. Here's the fox passing through again. I kind of like this photo of the raccoon because it's like he's caught in the act. Like he got caught with his hand in the cookie jar. I thought this was kind of cool. You can see the raccoon up on the bird feeder, and then there's a fox below the bird feeder there on the right. Here's the fox coming through a different night. So here are some photos that we got of the bear. You guys that watched my last video saw some of these. Some of them I didn't show on that last video. But you can see he kind of comes in the yard, sniffs around a little bit. He's checking out the bird feeders. Then he leaves for about 15 minutes and comes back. Then he just has a seat and kind of chills for a while. And there goes the shepherd's hook. And then he kind of walks around, takes a lap, and then heads on out of here. And all this activity is happening about 20 feet from the cabin. So some pretty good entertainment. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you soon.